Hi, I'm Judy Hoiness, and this is my show at the Stitchin Post and Sisters for the month of June. I'm going to go through each piece very quickly, just talk about some of my inspiration and some of the discarded material that I've used. The idea of the show is to hopefully inspire people to pick up things that they have in their garage or studio or what they find and put it together into a piece of art. So I'm mainly using textiles and stitching, but I've also used some drawing and painting techniques. And this one is called View from the Oregon Desert Trail, inspired by my trips hiking in Central Oregon. I've lived here for 55 years, and it is discarded mixed media and paint on paper and framed, and it's $4.75. It's 21 by 18 inches. The second one is a view from the Oregon Desert Trail, number 13. It's 22 by 19, and it's discarded mixed media and paint on paper. It's $5.75, and there's a lot of printmaking techniques in here, and stitching, and collage, and drawing, and painting. And the third one is a Northern Great Basin, and it's 22 by 19 in size, and it's $4.75, and it's discarded mixed media and paint on paper. There's a lot of stitching in there with the machine and a lot of different techniques that I often use in my painting because I'm also a painter. So you'll see a lot of painting techniques being used in a lot of my pieces. This is my next series, which is collage on canvas with discarded textiles and whatever I find that I think works. And so this is discarded textiles and paint on canvas, inspired by the nights in the summer looking out on the high desert. And there's a lot of stitching that you will see in there, collaging and textures. And it's 16 by 16, and it is $200. The next one is called Three Rabbits Seeking Water. One is very obvious. Two are very obscure, but they are there. And it's with discarded media, all kinds of media, and paint and textiles and stitching on canvas. And it is $200, and it's inspired by the rabbits I see in my backyard. The next piece, Central Oregon Landscape, 16 by 16, is discarded textiles and other materials and paint on canvas, and it's $170. There's a lot of stitching and printmaking techniques and painting and drawing techniques being used on this. Also inspired by the view from my house that looks over out from Aubrey Butte in Bend. The next one's a very small one, $60. It's little landscape, 8 by 8, discarded textiles and paint on canvas. And there's some copper in there and copper wiring wrapped around the piece, paper, textiles, some drawing and painting techniques. And then this other little landscape, number 2, is 8 by 8, and it's $60, and it's discarded textiles and paint on canvas. Everything everything is hand painted. In this piece, I've used no pre-printed fabrics and a lot of stitching right directly into the canvas, which is really kind of fun to do. Hand with a big needle, embroidery needle, and different types of threads and yarns. And then the next one is, this is 12 inches tall, 4 inches wide, and it's called Landscape, and it's discarded textiles and paint on canvas. And a lot of the textiles I have printed and drawn and painted on, cut them up, torn them up, and then added them to this canvas. Unbound, the Spirit of the Wilderness, is another 8 by 8 piece, $70, mixed media on canvas. Actually, again, punching the canvas with an awl or a large needle, and then stitching through the canvas to make the different textures. And then the next one is Sunny Day at Fort Rock, 10 by 10. It's $100, and it's acrylic and discarded materials on canvas, and some embroidery threads being used throughout the piece to give a little bit of added texture. And it's one of my favorite spots in Central Oregon, Fort Rock, a very inspiring place. Then the third series that I have on the walls here for this show is my Mend and Make Do. And each dress is completely unique, made out of a variety of materials, discarded materials, some vintage, some very old, a lot from my great-grandmother and grandmother's stash of materials that they'd used from quilt making. The first one is Mend and Make Do outdoor dress. It is approximately 16 by 12. It's a vintage quilt, textiles, drawing, and painting, and it's $75. And also the back has another design on top of it. Most of these have another design on the back side. This is an old dress that I've added to cover up some of the holes, and these again are vintage pieces of fabric from my grandmother's quilt box and other things that I found. So, and then this again has some stitching on the back also, and a pair of bloomers that go with it, and it's $65. It's about 16 by 10, somewhere in that range. The next one, Mend and Make Do party dress, is approximately 15 by 12 with discarded textiles and a necklace and a pin, another pin, and then again it's decorated on the back to add a little bit more interest if you wanted to have it freestand hanging. And then the next one, Mend and Make Do flower dress. This has a bunch of flowers and an old photograph, and some drawing that I did, and then applique paper. And then she's holding a bag with a tiny, tiny little painting that I did, and in the back's a little calligraphic book with a quote in it. And this also has on the back an owl. This one, and this one was $65. The next Mend and Make Do nice dress is a lot of felting. I've done a lot of felting. I have a felting machine, and it's really fun to use. And so I thought, well, I'll try it out on the dress and cut it up and put the pieces back together again. And a lot of drawing and painting. And it's about 15 by 8, somewhere in that area. And it's felted, stitched on textiles, and it's $70. The gloves are made from fingers of gloves. And this one is a Mend and Make Do work dress. There's an apron and some drawing and painting on the bottom of the dress. For a little added feature, I dug into my old box of jewelry that I've had for 50, 60 years and decided to incorporate that in there. And then hanger is made from masking tape that's been wrapped and then painted with gesso. And then it has a little bit of a design on the back also. And this is one of my favorites. This is called Mend and Make Do Dancing Queen, and it's about 16 by 6. It's a vintage quilt, old iron C-clasp textiles, old hook and eye card. This one is kind of precious to me. It belonged to my grandmother. It was in her stitching box. And so I've added embroidery thread and different fabric and stitched to make this dress with a little gesture to it. And that one is $70. There's another one of my Mend and Make Do dancing dresses with a C-clasp, made from all kinds of discarded fabric that I found, and I've added some beads to it and another gestural movement to her, so she looks like she's moving rather than just more static. And it's $70, and it's this textiles, beads, and another C-clasp that are really hard to find, but they've got great patina. Number 22 is a Mend and Make Do slightly wrinkled dress by me, discarded scraps and copper wire, and it's $75. It also has a front and back to it, so it could be hung and viewed from different viewpoints. So you could hang it like this if you wanted to. And then an old pin that I got in Austria. And then I tried some designing with threads and yarns and linen thread, and that's 75. And this is 75. It's Mend and Make Do Farm Dress. I envision a little girl going out looking for scraps of wood to be able to start the fire for breakfast. And it's discarded textiles and a little bit of painting and drawing and wire and all different types of fabric. And then there's I've used pins instead of stitching all of this up. And it comes with this very old forged square nail, and on the back it has a design of an owl. This Mend and Make Do wedding dress is actually part of a wedding dress of a friend of mine, and it's all hand beaded. And I've just finally, after a couple of years, decided I could actually cut it up and make something with it. It's $60, and it has a very old button that came from my grandmother's sewing box. And it's also made out of paper. There's some paper stitching on it. And then the Mend and Make Do Nostalgia dress has some animals that I've drawn on here, an old photograph that's been stitched to the dress. And this I've made out of horsehair that was collected by my granddaughter who rides horses. So she collected for me a lot of horsehair. It's really so much fun to work with. I really enjoy it. And I think this also has another example of some animals that you might find on a farm. And then this I'm not sure, I think it was a decorative piece, but it must have been left out for many years outside because it's all rusted. And then the last one, Mend and Make Do Afternoon Dress, is all made from scratch from every kinds of pieces I could find, and I put together. And the gloves are fingers from gloves. And then the back has all kinds of fabric, silks and linens, and all kinds of parts of scarves. And then also some pantaloons and wire on top. And it is about 18 by 9 inches, and it is $80. I'm so sorry, I got two of the dresses mixed up. The cards were misplaced. So this is the Mend and Make Do farm dress, and it is 15 by 11. And it has the discarded textiles, the necklace, and drawing and painting, and it is $75. And the other one that we had mixed up with this is the Mend and Make Do work dress, which is pretty obvious. She's out collecting firewood to make breakfast. Is discarded textiles and objects.